I should have been presenting this as what it costs the grocer to buy your dollar from you, because that's what he's doing. He's buying the dollar from you and he's paying with soup. And speaking of inflation, strange way to start a video, but there it is. I find that the cost of going to a restaurant, taking friends out to dinner, is almost exactly double what it was just 5 years ago. And, I know that the official statistics say that from January of 2020 to basically today, they don't have the data in yet to go any further than this, but it's 22.3% is what they're claiming the cumulative total inflation is. Now, I'm a car guy, and so every once in a while I see auctions on cars, and I mean, it wasn't there live. This is online, bringatrailer.com. But here's a 1957 Thunderbird, and I used to have a Thunderbird. It was a 64. I really liked it a lot. The Thunderbird was actually the most expensive car that Ford made during those periods. Lincoln was a separate division, so the most expensive Ford was a Thunderbird. This one went up for auction and was a no sale. They turned down a bid of $200,000. It's a very special car because it's supercharged. Then there was also this one, and I've got, the reason I'm showing you these is they've got the window sticker, I guess this is. $3,688 and a penny for the supercharged. They paid $340 extra for this engine and $150 for a transmission. And oh my gosh, power steering was $48. And electric window lifts, $48. And then the 70 amp battery, the big battery, a whole $5.27 upcharge. Quite amazing. So the base price on both of these cars, $2,373.41. This one was $3,688.01. So that was for like a maxed out T-Bird. This is the window sticker for the other car. If you have an older Ford, you can get what's called a Marty report. And so you can get this from Ford, basically. And so the closest comparison that we have today would be the Ford Mustang. And you have to exclude these ones with EcoBoost. That's a 4-cylinder. The Thunderbirds were V8s, and the supercharged one would sort of be like comparing it to this Mustang or this Mustang, and the other Thunderbird would be like comparing it to these. So let's take the least expensive one here to compare with that salmon-colored one, and the most expensive to compare with the supercharged one. And to compare the salmon-colored one, this was the price of the T-Bird, and this is the price of the brand new Mustang. And the cars, they've gotten much more efficient at making the cars. They don't have to drill holes and screw anything anymore. They just snap stuff together. Parts are, there's large cast parts, so it's not as many small parts going together. There's a whole bunch of efficiency improvements and improvements at the factories. And so the price of the car should have actually gone down, not up. But the loss in purchasing power of the dollar is over 92% in that case. And then when you go with the supercharged one, it's 94% if you're comparing it to that maxed out Mustang. But the Mustang, that's the base price of that hopped up model. I, just out of curiosity, built one online, and it was about $82,000 by the time you added a bunch of extras and so on. So, getting back to food, I've been presenting a different version of this chart of the price of a can of Campbell's soup going all the way back to the year 1887, I believe. 1898. There was, I used to present this on stage live back in 2009, 2010. And, I wrote about it in my book in chapter 3. But so this is sort of an updated version. He's talking about this is the single best long-run measure of food inflation, and it's gone vertical. Now, I have this in chapter 3 of my book, but I've got a much better explanation of it because I realized that I was only telling half the story when I was showing that chart. So if you click on online chapters, it'll take you to this page. Click on chapter 3. Not asking you for your email address or anything. I just want you to read this because I feel like it's very important, actually. What I used to show on stage back in 2009, 10, 11 was an empty graph. And then I'd sweep in this line and the can of soup, and there was a gold coin when we were under the gold standard. And then I'd cross out the gold coin August 15th, 1971, when Nixon nixed gold, when he ended the Bretton Woods standard, and then continue the line on up. Now, the data that was presented in Balaji, when the data that he's citing in his chart, this comes from political calculations. This was not updated when I did my book. I actually had to go to the websites, and I did it myself. I went to the websites of about 65 different grocery store chains, discount grocery store chains across the United States, California, Washington, the Chicago area. I picked something in the Midwest like Kansas, New York, both New York City and upstate New York, Georgia and Florida and Texas. I figured that was enough, and I came up with an average then, but this was during the pandemic, could have been supply chains disruptions, of $1.43 per can was the average. This is a 12-month trailing average, and so it's actually last year, and they're getting $1.24. I don't believe it. I think it's higher than that. But anyway, you go back to this. I had $1.43 for that last data point, and that equaled a 93% drop in the value, which lines up with the cars perfectly. But I realized that this story wasn't done. And I had been presenting that chart for years. And I realized that just as the book was going to be published and all of the parts that were on paper were locked, this chapter was not locked, so I could update it and tell the second half of the story. And what I should have done is flipped that chart upside down and shown the loss in, not the rise in price of the can of soup. The can of soup, everybody was getting more and more efficient at doing their job when it came to digging up the iron to make the can. Those old cans used to be rolled and then soldered. There was a seam on them. And so there was a lot of work into making a can. You didn't just bang out an aluminum can in a few microseconds. And the same thing when it comes to growing the tomatoes and processing everything, printing a label. Everything has gotten super efficient. That can of soup should have fallen from 10 cents to maybe 3, 4, 5 cents at the most today if we were still using money. So what I should have done is flip this chart upside down and put a line of demarcation between money and the currency era that we are in now. But you can see this incredible loss of purchasing power. Then I should have been presenting this as what it costs the grocer to buy your dollar from you, because that's what he's doing. He's buying the dollar from you and he's paying with soup. People don't look at things this way, but there's that 93% loss of purchasing power. When we used real money, a dollar was very expensive. It took 10 whole cans of soup to buy that dollar. Sometimes it took 12 cans of soup to buy that dollar. This goes up and down above and below. It was 8 cents for a can of soup at one time. And so to buy that dollar, the dollar was very expensive. Now the dollar is so cheap that he only needs a fraction of a can of soup to buy that dollar from you. Please like and subscribe. I hope you liked this video, and we'll see you next time.